Hello children, I am Sunil Kumar Pandey, your English teacher from Cambridge International School, Dasua. In this video, I am going to discuss with you the fourth and last part of chapter 8 of your textbook Flamingo, Going Places by A.R. Barton. So far, we have come to know about its theme, the theme of adolescent fantasizing and hero worship. We have come to know about the nature of its protagonist, the principal character, a teenage girl named Sophie, who has very high ambitions but is not realistic about achieving those ambitions and instead chooses to live in the dreams of those ambitions. And we have come to see how the story progresses. We have come to see how, just to draw the attention of her brother whom she admires, she tells a lie that she had met his favorite football player Danny Casey, and then, having spoken one lie, she goes on adding one after the other and ends up weaving an elaborate story about her and Danny Casey, giving a hint that both are in love with each other and are about to meet as well next week. And at the end of the previous part, we also saw that on one Saturday she goes to watch a football match along with her family members, and then she happens to see Danny Casey for the first time, and this first appearance proves even more compelling to her. Her love for him becomes even more irresistible. So by now she has come to be living in her imagination of being in love with Danny Casey. Now we are to read the second half of page number 82. Here the scene changes and Jancy has come. Jancy has got a whiff of this all and she has come to ask about it to Sophie. So we read this now. What's this you have been telling? Jancy said, next week. About what? Your Jeff told our Frank that you met Danny Casey. Your brother Jeff told my brother Frank that you met Danny Casey. This wasn't an inquisition. This wasn't a serious inquiry. Just Jancy being nosy. Jancy was just being curious and suspicious. But Sophie was startled. Sophie was shocked. Oh, that! Jancy frowned. Jancy made a face, sensing she was covering, understanding that she was hiding something. Yes, that. Well, yes, I did. You never did, Jancy exclaimed. Jancy said surprisingly that you never did. Sophie glared at the ground, looked hard at the ground. That means her eyes were bent. Damn that Jeff. This was a Jeff thing, not a Jancy thing. Now she is cursing her brother Jeff for having told this to Jancy's brother. This was a Jeff thing. This was meant for Jeff, not a Jancy thing, not for Jancy. It was meant to be something special just between them, between Sophie and Jeff. Something secret. It wasn't a Jancy kind of thing at all. What do you mean by Jancy kind of thing? If you remember, Jancy was a very realistic kind of girl. And this was an entirely false story, imaginary story. So this was not meant for a realistic girl like Jancy. Tell gawky Jancy something like that. Gawky, awkward, ungainly, not good to look at. And the whole neighborhood would get to know it. If Jancy gets to know about it, she would tell the whole neighborhood. Damn that Jeff, she's again cursing him. Was nothing sacred. Means, could he not keep even this secret? It's a secret meant to be, she says. I'll keep a secret, Soph, you know that. I wasn't going to tell anyone. There will be a right old row. Row means quarrel. If my dad gets to hear about it. The fact is, she has already told her dad about it, and her dad has not reacted at all. He knows well about his daughter's nature and he has not believed it. But here she says to Jancy that this was to be kept a secret. If her dad came to know about it, there would be a furious scene at the house. Okay. Jancy blinked. A row? I would have thought he would be shoved as anything. Shoved. Surprised, you may say. So Jancy said, there would be a scene, there would be a furious scene. Why? He should also be happy, he should also be surprised like everyone else. She realized then that Jancy didn't know about the date bit. Jeff hadn't told about that. So Jancy didn't know about this second part of the lie, that she was having a date with Danny next week. She breathed more easily. Now this was a matter of some relief. So Jeff hadn't let her down after all. Jeff hadn't betrayed her entirely. He believed in her after all. After all, some things might be sacred. It was just a little thing, really. I asked him for an autograph, but we hadn't any paper or pen, so it was no good. How much had Jeff said? She's thinking about that. So she just repeats the story, the lie, and takes care not to tell anything to her about the date bit. Of course, now this girl, Jancy, says, Jesus, I wish I would have been there. Of course, my dad didn't want to believe it. You know what a misery he is, what a miserable person he is. But the last thing I need is queues of people round our house asking him, what's all this about Danny Casey? That means I don't want lines of people to come and ask him about my meeting with Danny Casey, which is going to happen if others come to know about it. He would murder me. And you know how my mum gets when there's a row. Jancy said, hushed, in silent tones. You can trust me, Soph, you know that. Well, the last part, but quite long part of the story. There's nothing in this last part, just that having come to live in her lies and also to show the world, especially Jeff, that she wasn't telling a lie. Next week, this girl Sophie does go at a beautiful romantic sort of place, pretending to be waiting for Danny Casey. So this last part is a description of just that. We quickly go through it. After dark, she walked by the canal along a sheltered path lighted only by the glare, sharp light of the lamps from the wharf across the water. Wharf, a long part of land that juts out into the sea or any water body, here canal. And the unceasing drone of the city, unstopping sounds of the city was muffled and distant, slow in a low tone and distant. It was a place she had often played in when she was a child. There was a wooden bench beneath a solitary elm. Solitary, standing alone. Elm is a tree where lovers sometimes came. So she has chosen really a romantic setting to meet Danny. She sat down to wait. It was a perfect place. She had always thought so for a meeting of this kind. For those who wished not to be observed, she knew he would approve. She knew he would. Who? Danny would approve. So you see, she knows that this is a lie, but she is now living in this imagination. She is acting as if this is true. For some while waiting, she imagined his coming. She watched along the canal, seeing him come out of the shadows, imagining her own consequent excitement. Not until some time had elapsed past did she begin balancing against this idea of his not coming. So for some time she really seemed to believe that he was coming. But after some time passed, how long can one live in imagination? One has to come to the hard reality. And now this hard reality strikes her. Here I sit, she said to herself, wishing Danny would come. Wishing he would come, and sensing the time passing, I feel the pangs of doubt, shocks of doubt stirring inside me. I watch for him, but still there is no sign of him. I remember Jeff saying he would never come, and how none of them believed me when I told them. I wonder what will I do? What can I tell them now if he doesn't come? But we know how it was. Now she is consoling herself. Danny and me, that's the main thing. I know and Danny knows. Although Danny is not in the picture at all. That's the main thing. How can you help what people choose to believe? But all the same, it makes me despondent, hopeless. This knowing I'll never be able to show them they are wrong to doubt me. She waited, measuring in this way the changes taking place in her. Resignation was no sudden thing. Resignation, not a job resignation. Resignation means giving oneself to reality. Having come finally to accept reality. This was not a sudden thing. This came gradually. Now I have become sad, she thought, and it's a hard burden to carry. The burden of this lie. This sadness, not exactly this lie, this sadness. She is imagining that this was a real affair and this has now broken up. So it was a hard thing to live with this burden. Sitting here waiting and knowing he will not come, I can see the future and how I will have to live with this burden. They of course will doubt me, as they always doubted me. But I will have to hold up my head remembering how it was. Already I imagine the slow walk home and Jeff's disappointed face when I tell him he didn't come, that Danny. And then he will fly out and slam the door. But we know how it was. It might. The reality was, perhaps no one else remembered that even. They were already disbelieving. But now she is thinking this. What will happen now? But we know how it was. We know means I and Danny know how it was. I shall tell myself, Danny and me, it's a hard thing, this sadness. So even though it was a lie, this has become a reality for her. And she is in pain now. She climbed the crumbling steps to the street, with difficult steps to the street. Outside the pub, she passed her father's bicycle propped against the wall and was glad. This was some solace to her that her father was not at home. She was not to face her father when she reached home. He would not be there when she got home. Excuse me, but aren't you Danny Casey? Now this whole fantasy begins playing again in her mind. Coming to the arcade, she pictured him again outside Royce's. He turns, reddening slightly. Yeah, that's right. I watch you every week with my dad and my brothers. We think you are great. More editions being made in the imagination by themselves. Now this is not conscious. This is happening on its own. Oh, well now, that's very nice. I wonder, would you mind signing an autograph? His eyes are on the same level as your own. His nose is freckled, curved, and turns upward slightly, freckled that way. And when he smiles, he does so shyly, exposing teeth with gaps between. His eyes are green, and when he looks straight at you, they seem to shimmer. The whole picture is lively before her. They seem gentle. Shimmer means glimmer. They seem gentle, almost afraid, like a gazelle's. Gazelle is a kind of deer. And you look away. You let his eyes run over you a little, and then you come back to find them slightly breathless. And he says, I don't seem to have a pen at all. You realize you haven't either. My brothers will be very sorry, you say. And afterwards you wait there alone in the arcade for a long while, standing where he stood, remembering the soft melodious voice, the shimmer of green eyes, no taller than you, no bolder than you, the prodigy, the innocent genius, the great Danny Casey. Now she is immersed, completely immersed in this world of imagination. And she saw it all again last Saturday. Saw him ghost past the lumbering defenders, ghost past, run past like a ghost. Lumbering defenders, those football players who were to defend their goal, and lumbering, falling as if fallen trees. She saw how, though she recalls how those defenders seemed to be falling down like fallen trees when Danny passed the ball through them. Then heard the 50,000 catch their breath as he hovered momentarily over the ball. Hovered, just wandered around, moved over. And then the explosion of sound as he struck it crisply into the goal. The sudden thunderous eruption of exultant approbation clappings. So this last part is not a lie, this she has seen. But this has mingled with her imagination. So children, this is the story. We have read it now, and we will discuss the issues involved further and also have a look at the questions in the next video. Bye till then. Thank you.